Good evening, everybody. I'm Rick Dancer. This is Get Real with Rick Dancer, sponsored by New Leaf Hyperbaric and Wellness. And a lot of us are talking, obviously, about COVID. A lot more people are coming down with the virus. And one of the things that last night we talked with some folks who had got the vaccine and how that was affecting people that they were doing. But some of the people who've had COVID now are in recovery. And the virus is gone, but the lingering after effects are not. I was talking to a guy today, a friend of mine, who had it about a month ago. And he said he's still kind of exhausted and kind of having some trouble getting back to his mojo and who he was and what he was feeling like and everything. So Matt McCarl from New Leaf joins us. And it just so happens that you are treating a lot of people who've had COVID in that recovery process. Kind of explain how that's working.
Yeah, Rick, we are starting to actually get folks referred to us from a couple different physicians that are having trouble with lethargia, just no energy after having COVID. Even have had a few folks that couldn't walk across the living room without getting winded, like just doing standard housework. They would start feeling anxious because they couldn't catch their breath and they'd have to stop and relax for a bit, just sweeping the floor, vacuuming, dusting, doing stuff that we normally all do every day. And so they come in, we do the treatments, one of those awesome things like that one behind me, and they start getting more energy within a few treatments. They start noticing their deeper breathing within half a dozen treatments. We've started implementing the red and infrared light therapy on that and putting the pads directly on the lower lobes of the lungs to really target that area with that extra blood flow.
So what is the infrared? We'll get to the oxygen in a minute. That's kind of obvious, but I still think we should talk with people about it because I think people don't know a lot about hyperbaric treatment. But with the infrared lights, what does that do to the lung area?
So the red and the infrared helps vasodilate that area of the body, and vasodilation means your blood vessels get bigger, and specifically in that area that the red and the infrared light is on. So that allows more blood flow into that area, and now since we're super oxygenating the blood, it helps get in there, reduce the inflammation, and if there's some scar tissue going on in those lungs, it helps start reducing that by adding the extra collagen and extra stem cells. It just really targets that area more because we get more oxygenated blood flow specifically right there while they're in the chamber.
So Scott is asking, what treatment are you talking about? So that's infrared, Scott. I think you're talking about the hyperbaric. So for people who don't know, because once you've done it, you're kind of like, you become part of the cult,
Right?
You understand when you say, when your whole theme is God air, you mean it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Kind of explain to Scott and some others like what this actually does.
Great. Yeah, for folks that don't know, we do mild pressure hyperbaric therapy. Behind me is one of our chambers. That's actually my personal chamber here at the house. I'll kind of turn it a little bit so we can see the whole thing a little better. And when folks come into our clinic, you get your choice of a mask or a cannula, which is little hoses that sit in your nose like you see in the doctor shows. And they climb in one of those chambers, and then we pressurize that chamber so you're the same as 11 feet below sea level. And what that does, that allows Henry's law of physics to take over on the oxygen. And instead of the oxygen molecules just hooking to the red blood cells, we're allowing those to dissolve into the liquid or the plasma of the body. So we're putting about 400 times or 4 times the amount of oxygen in your body that you can get versus just breathing atmospheric air like in the room, outside, anywhere. Even if you're breathing concentrated oxygen, your red blood cells can only hold so much. But because we're able to put it in the plasma, we're getting that extra, which allows us to get 5 times farther than every cell, which is boosting stem cell production, reducing inflammation, detoxing the body to cellular level. They've shown studies that an hour in there is equivalent to taking, say, 40 Motrin or 12,000 milligrams of ibuprofen as far as anti-inflammatory relief. So folks that get the damage in their lungs, we're really helping that heal faster.
And that's what Jason's a friend of mine. He's in Bend. He does this over in Bend, and he has great results. Val Hull was asking if the infrared can help with COPD.
The infrared can help with the inflammation and everything in there. Both of them will help with the COPD. We just want to be careful where they are in their COPD lifespan, because you reach a certain point and you become oxygen driven versus we're CO driven, meaning we breathe to blow off the carbon, where once you reach the final stage of COPD, your body switches and you're breathing to get the oxygen in your body. So if we over oxygenate somebody, your brain will actually make you stop breathing. So we don't want to do that.
So Scott, I think there's two different things going on here. So the tank is a pressure air tank. The infrared are little infrared pads that they put on you while you're in there. So it's not, I guess it's kind of a sauna for red, but it's really, it's like you're getting the air. And then at the same time, it's kind of like a double whammy. That's what I did when I broke my wrist. They put the infrared on my wrist and then I laid in there. So my body got the oxygen, but then I got it zapped with that infrared right on the point of pain.
Yeah, for Scott, it is very similar to an infrared sauna. We just use targeted pads to specifically target specific areas while we're doing treatments. For example, I have a head cap that I use every night before I go to bed, and it took me 40 plus years to get this way, but it's slowly growing hair back on my head. I just keep it shaved because I think it looks better this way than the parking lot feature that I have right now. But it is, so when I've had several clients that have started thickening their hair.
So bald is still beautiful then?
According to my wife.
Well, I'm not gonna argue with Cece. Val says she'll call you tomorrow, and she thanks Scott for the question. So
perfect, excellent. Thanks, Val.
Question. I've heard really good things about this treatment before and seen Rick living and breathing this lifestyle, pun intended. I can't wait to try it. Scott, I'm telling you, you will get in there for an hour, and you can do longer, but you do the hour, and you come out and you're just so relaxed, and you don't notice it when you're in there. That's what I think people, your little things in your nose, it's just like you're taking a nap, and you don't notice it until you come in and you open the tank, and I see him at the window. This is how my eyes look. And like, oh, do we have to go now? It's like, and then you pop out and you're just completely, it's like, put your shoes on and Matt just gives you time, but you're just completely relaxed. Jason says, great for cancer patients and burn victims too.
Absolutely, yeah. We have some folks that are battling cancer that come in quite often. Folks that are doing that, we even can rent or sell them a chamber. I was just up in Lake Oswego today because one of our regular clients, she was just a young lady, has some kids, they have special needs, and they used to come in all the time, but then now they just moved up to Portland area about 8 months ago, sold their house down here, and decided that they still wanted to do treatments, but didn't like the 2-hour drive back and forth. So she purchased a chamber. I went up and set it up in her house today, and before I was leaving, her son was getting his first treatment in their new chamber.
So it's been known to help with things like autism, people on the spectrum. I had a pad on my shoulder and my knee when I did my therapy. I saw a difference. I can now do squats after only 6 weeks post surgery. Norel, that's awesome. And what's so funny is that people, I saw Jason saying, hey, no gimmicks, because I think some people might think, well, what is it? But it's pure oxygen, in which it's kind of like, duh. Our body is an oxygen machine.
Absolutely. Yeah. So hyperbarics has actually been around since 1662. So it's more than proven itself. It's something they use to help divers treat the bends as well. So it's pretty awesome stuff.
Do you take insurance or covered by FSA?
Insurance covers 15 major conditions. Most of those stuff you'll be seen at the hospital for. So we tend to not see those folks. We can see folks for post-medical or post-car accidents, and PIP coverage will pay for us. But we can accept your FSA or HSA cards. They tend to work out just fine.
So you guys, the way to do this is, because I don't have the best insurance in the world because I've had cancer. And so the insurance companies go, oh, cancer, that's going to be on Rick's list for the rest of his life. And we're going to charge him accordingly, even though it's gone. So I have an HSA. And I can take my money from my HSA and use that with the doctor's permission. And I have no problem getting my doctor to do that. This is so Eugene. When you brought this idea up, this had to make you go, because I think most of us in this town are looking at things in addition to the medical world. We're looking at alternatives to acupuncture, to new leaf hyperbarics, to all these different things that are going on. I think we all know there's a mixture of things and all of our bodies are different and mine's going to respond differently to different things, but I sure as hell don't need any more drugs. That's what I can tell you for sure. After cancer, I don't need any more radiation in my life ever.
Right. Exactly. It was funny you mentioned that, Rick, because it was 8 years ago, 8 years ago in November of so in 2020, it was 8 years that I first met the folks that had New Leaf Clinic in Tacoma, Washington. And when I saw what they were doing, that's what I thought was, man, this is so Eugene. Why is there not something like this in Eugene already? So that's kind of what drove me to work with them to put a clinic in Eugene.
Matt, just so somebody was on here looking, give me your website. I should have put this on there. Is it New Leaf?
It's Eugene.com.
New Leaf.
So Eugene.com.
Okay, somebody's asking how to get a hold of you. Amazing. Yeah, I'm glad my cancer's gone too. Going into his wellness center will save you 90% automatically. Hospitals charge outlandish prices for hyperbaric chambers. Is that?
Yep. $700 to like $1,200 an hour.
What?
Mm-hmm. If they will see you for off-label conditions. You must remember that only the 15 major conditions are what they call on-label FDA type stuff. The insurance will cover, studies, all the things. Because if somebody can have a wound and you can see that heal faster, so proven. Somebody gets burned, they get healed from being in the chamber. They have the bends, all this stuff. A lot of the stuff that we do, post-stroke recovery, traumatic brain injury recovery, there's more studies for that. So that's getting closer to that line, but it's all considered off-label. And if you're in the medical field, like myself, and you go to lots of conferences and stuff, you quickly learn that a lot of stuff that normal MDs, family physicians, all those folks, 50% of what they do is off-label anyway.
Right.
But it's still covered. So he's absolutely true. Going to the hospital, it's rather expensive because they're using the big, heavy-duty hyperbaric machines that are 100% oxygen, so you have to have special gowns, special insurance, all that stuff. So
Charlene was saying, I heard something you install in the chambers in someone's homes. Yes, you can rent them for if you're going through, if I was doing this again, and I don't plan to have cancer again, but while I was going through the treatment, it was 40 days. I could have got a machine in a chamber, put in my house for 2 months, or maybe 3, and then gone through the treatment, done that at the same time, and then had it afterwards too to keep my body going. And that's a really cost-effective way to do it because and you don't have to drive somewhere. You know what I mean? It's like.
Yeah, you get a lot more treatments in a lot less time because you can do it daily and not have to drive to the clinic to do it. Especially if you're doing the more natural type of cancer treatments, we're getting the high dose vitamin C and things like that. It really helps that impact the cancer more. Studies and stuff show that medications can be almost quantified by using the hyperbarics because it just drives it farther into the cell by getting that extra oxygen helping that move in there.
Can you use it with a pacemaker? Marla wants to know.
Yes. Yeah, we have folks that come in with pacemakers quite often. That's the other cool part between us and hospital. Hospital, they won't let you in because of the 100% oxygen atmosphere. If you have a pacemaker, they don't let you in the chamber. Ours, we charge it with room air, and then you're breathing 90 to 95% pure oxygen. You can take your phone in there, and if you must, to do work, laptop. I take my phone in there just to set the alarm to wake me up when I fall asleep, or listen to music.
Yeah,
Meditate.
Matt and Cece have. One time I called Matt. You guys, this is so disgusting. I'm doing a show with Matt, and Cece, his wife, is in the tank behind him, and I'm over here like drooling, wishing I could go sit in the tank for a little bit. That's the perks of owning the company. Yes, there are other places, Scott, like Bend, and Matt could probably help. There's a whole company involved.
Yeah, so New Leaf exists in Eugene and then up in Lacey, Washington. There are other hyperbaric clinics, though, that are not necessarily New Leaf doing the same thing. Like there's this place in Vancouver, Washington called Inlight Hyperbarics, where they do the light therapy and hyperbarics and several other modalities in their wellness center. There's, I want to say it's called High Plains Hyperbarics over in Bend. So there's, you search, you'll find them, but there's few of us out there that can rent and sell.
So Linda says she was treated to a treatment by somebody else. Her arthritic muscle spasms riddled her body. She loved it, wished she had the funds to continue. Times will change. There is hope. So, and Matt can talk to you too, Linda, unless you've already been in there to talk to him. There are plans you can do to punch that out, and there's ways to make that happen. So if you need that. And then Jason says, I encourage everyone to visit this guy, non-biased. I mean, it's God's work technology. It will help your body. And Jason's doing that over in Bend. So he's not even a client of Matt's, and he still watches and says that. Laura wants to know, is this effective with mental health disorders?
Depends on the disorder and what we're looking for in what do you mean by effective. Folks that have ADD and ADHD, it can help you focus and have just better mental clarity that way. Folks with, trying to think of MS, which really isn't a mental disorder, but we see changes in the brain for that. Folks with autism and Alzheimer's and dementia. I have pictures, what they call SPECT scans in my office of folks that before and after treatment, the folks that have had both Alzheimer's, folks that have autism, strokes. So it's pretty cool to see the difference.
Laura's thinking, she's thinking what I'm thinking. She said anxiety and depression.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I would think help
with the SADs, especially this time of year. Back to the red light and the infrared head cap. We also have an eye mask that's got red and blue light, no infrared, just red and blue light, and we have the controls. We can set them for special settings to help with the SADs, make you feel happy, if you will. And then also the anxiety. Oxygen is a nice natural anti-anxiety med, and if we can get, if you can treat and just let that oxygen take effect, it tends to help you feel better.
Sure, it made me feel better. So Linda wants to know how much are treatments. Maybe you could tell them what your special, how you do that.
So we have introductory pricing. So your first time with us for a 65-minute session is only $45, and we like to see folks do their first 3 treatments within 7 days, really ramp the oxygen up, really get you detox, get you feeling really good. And so we'll get you a coupon to get 2 more right away for $109, which is basically a BOGO, because if you buy them at one at a time after that, they're $110. But we do package deals, VIP programs. Most of our clients pay between $60 and $90 a session, depending on where they are in their packages.
So with that initial package, your $45, you buy the 3, you're going to get a real good taste of what it is. And then you could buy a year's worth or 6 months worth, and you can spread it out and do it how you want to do it. And there'll be a lot of cost savings that way.
Yeah, you can do it. So it's $154 for your first 3. And then you can buy packages. Also, Thanksgiving time, everybody does Black Friday. We don't do Black Friday. We do Green Saturday. And so that's our lowest price point of the year. Like this year it was $60. You could buy as many as you want. Fill your account to make it through the year if you could. If you can only make it a few months, then I also do what's called a May Day special. So May 1st, May Day, my account's empty. I need help. We'll do another really big sale where you can buy as many as you can. Usually not the same prices on Green Saturday, but pretty close to that. And then we run specials throughout different times of the year, different things, like we might do something for Valentine's Day where you can come in and get your loved ones a couple sessions at a really great discounted price.
And you can do couple sessions, like 2 at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
So
can do.
yeah, once a couple is gone independently, then they can go together, and it still costs only one. It costs of one.
Right. So Kathy and I could come in. We can each do a session, and then we can do one together, and we only pay for one.
Correct.
But if it's for Valentine's Day, it's just an oxygen session. Nothing else goes on in the tank. You people hear me? I know how my audience is. But you know, Matt, when you're talking about $109, you go, how much do people spend in medication in a month for mental health, for all this stuff in that we're doing? When I've talked to some of your clients before for shows like this, and it's like they're off of it. They're not doing that anymore. They're doing this. So it's a natural way of doing it, and you're not paying for all that crap you're putting in your body.
Yep, my wife's off half of her medications. We've talked a little bit about her. She's had cancer before, multiple times, and she's in full remission for the last 7 years now. 6 years, sorry, was when she was in full remission, because we've had our own chamber for quite a while now. And so with that, she's been able to wean herself off of a lot of her medications. I believe she's off 7 of her 13 she was on.
Wow.
So just this year, she was able to wean herself off her morphine she had to take from all the stuff that went on.
Billy Thomas wants to know, does it work for traumatic brain injury? I already know, but go ahead.
Oh, yes. Those are some of our favorite clients to see. Not that I love that people get those. What I do love to see is the folks that are walking around in a brain fog. They are having a conversation, and they have to stop, just like I did, to think of the word they want to use all the time. And so we have broken conversations quite often with a lot of our clients that come in with a traumatic brain injury. Huge changes in those folks. I have a young lady who was our client who came in because she had a squat rack falling here in the head. She has a SPECT scan, and SPECT scan is where they go and they look at the brain and they look at the electrical activity in the brain, so you can see where the brain's not functioning. She did well over 100 treatments over the course of a year and a half, and actually went back up to the Amon's Clinic, which, if you guys are unfamiliar, the folks that have the traumatic brain injury, unfamiliar with the Amon's Clinic, I would highly recommend looking that up. There's one up in Seattle. She went back and got rescanned because she had got a cabinet fell and hit her in the back of the head. But what they saw was the spot that was there from her earlier traumatic injury had already healed. It was looking great. Her brain actually looked very different compared, and we have both those pictures on our wall, which is pretty awesome.
So Laura, I know Laura, and she's being a whiner here. Is the tank see-through? And she should put little laughing faces after it. It's like,
so I know. If you look right there, Laura, there's a huge window right there. And keep in mind that chamber behind me is the same size we use in the office. There's 7.5 feet long, 33.5 inches across. So there's room enough for 2 in there. So for folks that might feel like they might be claustrophobic in there, very seldom do we have folks that absolutely have to get out. If you can let the oxygen take over, normally you just relax and breathe.
Laura, when I go in there, I'm a little claustrophobic. I went in there, and there's windows like where your head is, and you can look out and see them, and they talk to you like, okay, we're doing this. And then there's a little buzzer they give you that if you do freak out, which I didn't, but you can buzz that, and they can come in and they can get you out of the tank. But it's really, you're laying down. It's a pretty good space in there when you're in there. And after about 5 minutes, you're so relaxed. You take a book in, and then you put the book down, and you're going, I don't need to do anything. And then then when it's time to get out, you're like, no, I want to buy the hour and a half. Does this seem to work for high blood pressure or cholesterol?
We get a lot of folks that are able to lower their blood pressure medications. In fact, folks that come in with high blood pressure, we usually recommend that they keep kind of an eye on that. And actually, our new medical oversight that we just started in 2020, we had changed some docs because the doc we had was retiring, and the doc we have now has actually been doing hyperbarics himself since the early 90s. He was in Canada, now he's a doc in Florida, but he's able to practice throughout the US. So he's our oversight, and he had us start doing blood pressures and checking people's pulses and everything prior to hyperbarics, because he knows that they're going to come see us more than they're going to see their normal physician. So we can kind of track that thing. If we see an abnormality, like say somebody's 124 over 70, 124 over 70, 126 over 86, in that ballpark. And then they come in and they're like 150 over 85. We can mention that to them and be like, hey, you're a little abnormal today. We'll check it again next time. And if it keeps having this odd trend, we may recommend that they go see their doc. But mostly what we'll see when somebody that has high blood pressure is we see it start trending the other direction. And then they have to adjust their medications.
All right, I'll get back to serious questions, but Laura wasn't talking about see-through. She meant no body. Yeah.
No, I know.
Laura, can't we keep this? It's only 5:30. Can we keep this somewhat gentle? What's an ideal treatment plan to see dramatic results with maximum impact? Is that the 3 times a week?
Yeah, that usually works really, really well. Either 3 one-hour treatments a week or even 2 90-minute treatments a week. They're finding, especially for folks that have traumatic brain injuries, they're finding that 90-minute treatments are working much, much better for folks than just the standard hour treatments. When I first started doing it, I was 8 months post-neck surgery because I had my C4-5 had compressed and pinched the nerve to this bicep and it was not working. They fixed that when they went in and did surgery, but they, quote unquote, per the surgeon, bumped the nerves to these 2 fingers, leaving them numb and tingly. He said, that should be better within a month or so. 8 months later, they were still numb and tingly. I started doing hyperbarics. Did it 3 times a week. 6 weeks in, no more numbness and tingling. Also was not eating ibuprofen like Tic Tacs anymore because I was doing 800 milligram ibuprofen breakfast, lunch, dinner, and sometimes before bed. Now I do a treatment at least once a week. No ibuprofen.
Huh. What about gut health? Heather wants to know about gut health.
Especially if it's anything that's caused by inflammation. So if you have like the Crohn's or the IBS, usually there's a big fancy word for that, ends in itis. Any condition that ends in itis usually means the inflammation of, and so we can really help with that stuff. Folks that have the IBS and stuff like that, they'll notice that things start getting a little more regular for them, and then really just smooth out after a while, but they got to kind of go through a little bit of a rough patch. Same with folks that have Lyme too. They'll do what's called Herxting a couple times, which is the die-off of all the Lyme little irritants, and then they just start noticing things getting way better.
Susan, the way you can get notified every time we go live is Facebook will ask you, and you can click on to the button. It'll tell you want to, when they tell you I'm live, it'll say, do you want to go every time Rick goes live? You can check it out. The other thing you can do is go to rickdancer.com, my website. The newest episode is always at the top on there, so you can find out what you missed out on and stuff. But these are fun, Matt, because it's like, just people, I think people really are taking charge of their own health. And we don't want to have to call a doctor every time something's going on, because quite honestly, I can't afford a trip to the doctor to find out that there's something I can do. Plus, she is probably not going to tell me, hey, you should do hyperbarics.
Yeah, he's going to go.
Yeah, prescription time. Does it help lupus?
Yeah, actually, I'm not going to try that first time. If they go to our Facebook page, which is New Leaf Hyperbarics Eugene, we have a nice little testimonial on there from a young lady down in Roseburg there again who bought a chamber. Actually, her good friend of hers bought a chamber to allow her to treat. She was in a wheelchair off and on and all that fun stuff from the lupus, treating quite regularly. Just an amazing results within a few short weeks, actually. So pretty cool. Yes, itis, arthritis, and that's that itis words there again. Inflammation of.
Asthmatics.
I used to have some employees that were able to stop using their inhaler.
And Laura's neurologist recommended it for migraines.
Absolutely. I had a naturopath that used to come in who had daily migraines. After her second treatment, she didn't have a migraine for over 21 days. And when she did have one, it was a little blip and went away. Then she treated regularly with us for like 6 months. And he must have fixed whatever it was that was up here giving her the headaches and the migraines because they haven't seen her.
we really don't understand our bodies very much, do we? I mean, I mean, people like you do because you do this, but I think a lot of us just kind of, you go through life and you don't realize there's things you could put into your schedule to do.
Mhm.
And Matt, I saw where you're on like this big workout thing, like for the new year.
Well,
That's kind of cool.
not big. It's just P90X stuff. I've been doing P90X for since 2010. So yeah, that's because I blew my back out in 2007 and ballooned up to about 260 pounds and didn't want to weigh that much anymore, especially after I had a little chest pain and my doctor handed me an aspirin and said you should take one of these every day. And I said, no, I'm 39. I really don't think I should take one of those every day.
Parkinson's patients?
Yes, please. We have had several Parkinson's patients. One of our first Parkinson's patients, after treating with us for a short, like 3 weeks, I want to say, this was way early when we first opened, his doctor cut his morning meds to a third what he was taking quickly. And he quit doing the little door shuffle. He would just come right in and go right in the room and get ready to go. And yeah, super cool.
Sinus pressure.
Ew, I don't like it. Don't like it at all. If you have sinus pressure, depending on where the sinus is, it can be a bit of a challenge to get you to pressure because of the sinus pressure. But if we can treat you in between when you're having flare-ups, then yes, it does get better, because I suffer from what's known as Willamette Valley syndrome.
Yeah, I do too. I'm always plugged, and I had no problem in there at all.
Yeah.
Thyroid issues, yes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I've done that, Matt. I listen to you. I mean, I feel like, hold on. No, Matt will tell you yes.
As long as as long as the issue is like an inflammatory issue, or if it's just things maybe not talking to each other right because it needs some help. A lot of times oxygen can make things feel better because we're getting better circulation through respiration using a little pressure. It's pretty cool.
Right. Well, I love it. Matt, thank you so much.
And, thank you.
Yeah, I love what you're doing to help people. I love the story of the people you were helping today, because that's going to make that person's treatment so much easier. Because it's already hard enough to go through, as you know, with your wife going through cancer treatment, and to have something that you could look forward to when you get home. I think that was one of the things that I think people talking about COVID recovery, instead of freaking out and going, oh no, I'm never going to be the same. It's like, that's when, like for me, once the cancer treatment was over, it was like, okay, now I got to go into full force to figure out what I'm going to do to keep myself healthy so I don't ever have to do this again. And you put your focus on, what am I going to do differently now? And Hyperbarics is a great thing with the infrared that you can do with that.
Mm-hmm.
What's WV syndrome? Oh, Willamette Valley syndrome. Yeah.
Oh, that's what I call folks that have grown up here have the sinus issues and allergies, sometimes year round. It's the folks like myself who wake up. So like this time of the year, I'll wake up and just
I know
a whole bunch of stuff every morning. What is cool is, since I have started doing Hyperbarics, is I no longer use my allergy-induced inhalers, because I don't have allergy-induced. Well, I don't think I have allergy-induced asthma anymore because I don't need my inhaler, and I no longer have to take allergy meds all the time like I used to.
Yeah, I think Willamette Valley. Somewhere I heard it was a term for Valley of Sickness. They used to call it the Valley of Sickness because the Native Americans, because of all the pollen and mold and all that stuff. Because this time of year, especially with COVID out, you're walking around going, I'm sniffling and all that. Says, no, it's not COVID.
Like you're in a store and you're afraid to cough.
This is normal for me. A little headache, a little bit of nasal congestion. And what's your phone number so I can put it in here for people?
So the office number is 541-636-3278.
Several people on there said they're going to call you tomorrow. So you guys, there's the phone number, and you can get a hold of it. Matt, thank you. Give CC.
Absolutely. Will do. Thank you, Rick.
I do. Yes. Bye-bye, guys. Okay, guys. So that's Matt McCarl, New Leaf Hyperbarics and Wellness Center. If you're one of the people like me who wants to take charge of your own health and Maybe it's because I have trust issues. I don't know. But I really, after having cancer, and if you've gone through anything tough like that, you realize that you are your best medical advocate. And if you want your health to be good, you are the one who has to take charge of that. You can't depend on other people to tell you what to do and how to do it. You really, really have to take charge of yourself. And this is one thing you can add into your plan that may really help you a lot. It helps a lot of people. So I'm glad to have Matt on board to talk about that stuff. If you guys have any other questions too, call him. I mean, he's a wealth of knowledge. And so plus he's pretty fun. You can have a good time. Sorry I missed the first part. So will this help with shortness of breath following COVID? Yes. Beth, that is what we were talking about earlier. This is if you're having some shortness of breath. Matt's had several clients come in who are in that same position with you, and they are seeing good results. They're feeling better, and they're noticing that's coming back. So this is another thing you can do. Don't freak out. It's probably not forever. I know, don't watch the news. Don't listen to what they're saying. Take charge. Go in and find out what's going on. And maybe Matt can help you. So again, his phone number's on there. Give him a call. Get set up and get your life back in order. Take charge. All right, I'm Rick Dancer. Wait, let me tell you what's coming on later. I have to get out my magic calendar. So tomorrow we're at the car wash. And we're going to talk about another healthy thing you can do is Vita Bowls. They're super good. And we're going to talk to them because we're trying to help restaurants this month. And Covert Road Car Wash at the car wash is really big on helping restaurants and some of the businesses that are struggling so hard. And so Vita Bowls is going to come on and we're going to share some of the stuff that they're doing. And then on Friday at 4:00, we're going to be out in Veneta. Remember we did this show on the Emporium where all these artisans came together for Christmas and put together programs and our different kinds of artwork. And it was super cool stuff. Well, it went over so well. The two women in charge have hired me and they're going to do 3 months and try it out at Christmas. They're just going to do it and see what happens. So we're going to take you out there and introduce you to some of the artists and see what they're doing. And then next week, I have a really great show on Monday too. Amelia Auble is a young woman who's a dear friend of mine. She experiences life with Down syndrome. Well, she's being recognized by a group called Allies Exceptional Awards, and they're giving her an award for her work she did on Look Me in the Eye campaign. And I'll tell you what, if you want to have a show that will make you laugh and cry and smile, and you will never look at human beings again the same way, watch that show because Amelia is going to come on and you will fall in love with this young woman. And then on Tuesday next week, we're talking to Hosea Youth Services. They have a program. The show on Monday is sponsored by Priority One Heating and Air Conditioning. They always like to find some show kind of like that. On the buck stops here is going to be the Hosea Youth Services. And then on Wednesday, the Boy Scouts of America are a new client of ours. And the media is telling a story about the Boy Scouts, and you're not hearing the whole story about what's really going on with their having a really struggling. They've gone bankrupt. But the reason they went bankrupt is to pay so that people many, many years ago who were sexually abused by people in the organization, this is years ago, that they're taken care of. So they're doing the right thing by doing this, but they need to get that word out. And then we're going to show you all the cool things they do as well. But it's a story you don't hear everywhere else, and we're happy to bring it to you. And then we're going to visit the All-American Pet Store, brought to you by Chris Dental. And I got Junior League this month. We got so much stuff. I don't know why you have to go anywhere else. So anyways, Get Real with Rick Dancer. We will be here usually at 5:00 every night. I will see you tomorrow. All right, Matt, thanks a lot, man. And you guys call him. Let him know you saw it on the show. That helps all of us.